welcome to Stop Now. I'm JK, your host for this week episode, and I'm joined by my co-host Amar. Amar, you have been promoted to be a co-host. So we have been doing this for quite some time. So I thought let's have a chat and a conversation about our experiment and also our campaign site, which our sponsor wants to talk about it often on our talk shows. So, which is obviously, that it's about H1B. So, introduce ourselves and we'll start with our conversation. How are you doing, Amar?
Yeah, fine. Thank you, JK. You.
I'm good. Are you excited because you are still doing the experiment and also being a co-host on the talk show? Did
Yeah,
you
right. Sure.
Did you expect this? Or
I
you are
think
being forced to do this? I just want to ask that.
no. I am actually feel better to join this meeting. I am joining, more than 6 months.
How do you feel what is our level of understanding in terms of this experiment? Why are we against H1B visa? Before we jump onto it, the basic questions, right? Let's clear that to our audience. So, do you want me to answer or
Yeah,
you?
it will be better if you do it. Yeah, you can go on and describe.
Sure, you want to ask the question?
Yeah, I have some question actually in my mind that I am interested to know from you about H1B actually related with H1B. So could you please explain what is an H1B visa?
Well, this is a old question again for us to dig into it. And by now, everybody, I assume that who are watching the talk shows of our channel or any other videos over there, the platform explaining what is an H1B, more of how the attorneys or the legal terms they are saying it as it's a simple term. I will go with simple answer, not to drag about it. It's a non-immigrant visa. It's a category, right? It's a category of visa that there are so many types of visas that US government provides. And this is specifically a non-immigrant visa status. That is a temporary visa for you to come and work in a specialty occupation. So that's all. I would put it simply, right? Rather than being a tourist or a visit visa coming on for 6 months and 1 year visiting the country, you get to visit for a short period of 3 years or 6 years and then work for any company and get some experience or share your knowledge and experience for the betterment of the economic conditions of our country.
So may I know who is actually eligible for an H1B visa? Anyone can apply or there is some restriction actually?
Yes, again, that's a good question, right? So when it comes to visa, the eligibility factors are crucial and it's not open for public, right? Not everyone can apply for it. So it is within a specific age bracket and for specialty occupation in the sense people who are skilled because of in 90s they felt US government wanted to have this specialty visa for the corporates to bring in highly skilled and talented people into their workforce. And it's basically an exploiting the opportunities around the world, bringing in people on a temporary basis. That is why they have this eligibility criteria and they have to be a graduate, a minimum college graduate, and should have some years of experience, probably in their specialized field, like in IT or in any other fields that they are going to work with. So that is the eligibility criteria for US employers, right? The companies which are operating in US businesses who cannot find the talent inside United States want to hire a foreigner and bring them on this visa for a temporary period of 3 years and then send them back, or probably upgrade that, like if they want to retain them, apply for the green card for them. Those are the possibilities, right? So that is where like they have some eligibility criteria, and it becomes very competitive by nature.
Yeah,
Does that answer your question?
yeah, yeah. That's okay. So H1B and working visa both are same or there are some different? I think want to know actually.
There are different kinds of work visa. This is one type of work visa. So as I mentioned, right?
Yeah.
So this is,
Mhm. Just
uh,
for technical persons only, right?
yes,
Okay,
yeah,
yeah.
it's specialty occupation. Like, let's not put it as technical. Even people from
Mhm.
different fields, like which they don't consider as technical, but still they are needed, and those special skill set which nobody else has is what the meaning of it. So that opens the door to interpretation, right? So you can interpret things in a different way, and it's just a normal process. You apply for it, and if you get selected, then you get to come here. So there is a challenge again, right? It's more than the eligibility. Here the problem is a lottery system. Since millions of people wants to come here on those visas, they have restricted, saying that like we can allow only 65,000 people every year, and they select that based on not even first come first serve basis, because everybody will apply immediately the minute they open the door. So they just accept the application from millions of people and put it through a lottery system and select it. So which itself is a questionable way of selecting talented people.
Yeah, understood. So if someone get H1B, so how many years can they stay in US on H1B visa?
Well, it depends on what is the terms of those visa, right? So over a period, initially, I'm not a legal expert, or I'm not going by the standard of what is the procedure, but a general norm, everybody's understanding is every employer gets to file this petition and they get to have the visa for 3 years minimum. And it depends on the employer, right? How many years they want that person to be employed with their company, right? If they apply only for 1 year, then it will be for 1 year. And normally they give it a short term. Nobody wants to work for 1 year or less than 1 year and leave, right? So that's where like the period is like set as 3 years, and it's an initial thing, and then it can be extended for another 3 years. For 6 years, a maximum, they can work on this visa.
Okay. So after getting the H1B, can they apply for green card?
Yes, this is again, we have even debated this with the attorneys and questioned them about it. So, why the US government has tied the H1B to green card process? There is no
Mhm.
clear answer to it, but just to provide some comfort for people who are interested to stay in this country, who have come on a visa, and the employers are uh, finding it difficult to go through the green card process or make the decision. So they just want the upper hand control of the candidates, right? My assumption is that is the reason they have tied this green card. Green card as an immigrant process, right? A simple term, green card means you are immigrating to United States. That can come through any process. If you marry a US citizen, you can apply green card and you can become US citizen, or a different process, right? Employees can hire you directly through a green card process, or if you have relatives, they can sponsor. So many options are there, right? So why do they put this temporary visa candidates to it? Is because if they end up 6 years, and then what? They still want to
Mhm.
stay on the company. So that is where like they are saying like option is the companies can sponsor for the green card, not just after 6 years, even before that, like even within a year, if they like the candidate very much, and they can apply for the green card process, which is an immigration, non-immigrant to immigrant. So that's a different petition and different process altogether. Once they do that, they provide the timeline in which the green card will be provided for that candidate. It is country specific now. So that is why, like many people who come on H1B, which we are fighting against, is Indians and other Asians who are the most uh, using this visa, right? More than 70 to 80% of them are getting these visa. They suffer through this backlog process, and they have to wait for 10 years, 20 years, and all, like to get a green card. So it leads to violations, human trafficking, and
Yeah,
exploitation,
yeah,
and basic human rights are being violated here. So that is why, like, we are against this corrupt system. We wanted to abolish this. We want to put a stop to this, and that's where our fight and campaign of Stop
yeah,
H1
yeah.
are Stop Now
Yeah,
is.
as I know, yeah, stop now organization, and there are so many organizations is still now fighting to stop H1B. You know, you also know that.
Yes, absolutely right. That is the reason, and we have been interviewing victims who are very hesitant to come up, and that's the reason why I represent my mask, is to be the voice of the voiceless and the face of the faceless people, right? The mask people who are unknown to the public. They are not public figures, and they are suffering silently, and they are contributing to the economy of the country, right? That's the beauty of it, right? They pay taxes, and silently they have to suffer through and be insecure in this country. So that should be the talking point.
Right. Yeah, yeah. As I know from media or some other newspapers, some people still coming to US in illegal way. You know. So why do people immigrate illegally to the US?
This is a good question. Again, based on the media reports or news reports, I'm not going to go by. So here and there,
Mhm.
like they sensitize those stories and publish those things. But more than that, the issue is because I also learned all these things in the last 2 years once I started volunteering and then becoming a member of Stop Now and doing this talk shows and talking to more people and learning more from their stories. It's not just people become illegally trying to immigrate. That is a failure of the security of the border patrol, right? So
Right, right.
only few people try to illegally enter uh, through borders, and they go through uh, harsh, cruel condition, and that is it's a wrong thing. Again, we are not justifying that. And how do they do that, and why do they do that? Is like, it's basically human nature of risk taking. And the important point I wanted to notice is the policies of the government and implementation of those policies are the reason why people who try to immigrate here become illegal. People who came here are being promised by the legal system stay illegally, overstay and become illegal, and then like use the lawyers and try to evade the system by applying different things and staying here illegally, continuing to stay here illegally. How is that made possible? It is made by business owners, right? People who are providing protection to them by keeping them and paying them cash and making their livelihood comfortable here makes them to be illegal immigrants. And also the decisions have to be made quicker by the justice system, right? Either you accept them or deny them, and that is the reason like why there is a political divide, and people always say like this side is right and that side is right. No side is right here. right? So everybody is fighting for their own, and they do it in their own way. And to avoid those things, if they fast track those process and deal those cases not by case, but having some set of norms and standards, and say that, okay, if you have been here for this many years and you have not violated any rules, you should be given some immigrant status, so that they just don't end up trying to do all these illegal things, right?
Right. Yeah, actually, people so many companies from USA, they are trying to trap people by giving them or by uh, providing them H-1B visa. They are making some trap, right?
Yes, so that is what we learned, right? So in our experiment, we have been doing it for quite some time, and we even asked this question: How long are we going to do this? What is the end result of it? Uh, it's like shooting the blanks, right? We don't have even the target and how far we can go. All these things came to our mind when we started, and we started this journey and see like where it will lead us and find this. And we found that like billion-dollar companies are complicit with this crime, and they are going by it by subcontracting. And also you can see like small companies giving false hope and hiring H1B candidates on large scale, and getting this has become a business model, right? You know that, right? Operating it from India and other parts of the world
Yeah,
outside
yeah,
the country, and getting money from the candidates and providing them like false hope, saying that we bring you to H1B in US, and also provide you job with the false hope of like contracting jobs and not paying them and getting money from them. So all sort of human right violations are happening here. So that is why
yeah,
like I am personally, after going through this process and learning all these things, I'm totally fed up against this system. This cannot be fixed. It's not just broken. It is a faulty system, right? From the beginning, it is being abused. So it only option is to scrap this, stop this program completely, and think something new that will probably value the human rights and also have the liberty and compassion to treat every other human being equally, whether they are foreigners or who come in here on a short term or immigrating it. They have to be given equal rights. That's how like I see this problem.
yeah. That's right. So, why are so many Americans hostile to immigrants, especially considering that they themselves are not native to America and immigrant themselves? So why?
Well, Amar, it's a funny story, right? Again, that's how the human beings behave, right? Even I can give small examples. In every other country, we have the same problem, and the same has happened. Like they come for generations together over here, and they immigrated, and they start feeling that like I own this, and it's my country, and I set the rule, and nobody should enter without my permission. It's just like how you do it, like with your own house and the family, where you and your family alone are allowed to enter the place. The same thing is being expanded there. And it's the mindset, and people have to be educated. And I would say, like, they are not evolved as a human species. They are still animals, and they are trying to have that territorial issues. So that is how like I see this. When somebody is saying like I'm not going by Americans or any other nationalities, but when you are hostile to others coming into your territory and taking what you feel that like you deserve more than them, you are wrong in a way to see the policies that is being put in place by the elected officials, right? It's a democracy. It's not ruled by a dictator or by autocratic kings and queens. So not able to understand, have a clear-cut knowledge is what um, makes people to be hostile. So that is how, like, I would say, like, to know is to have a better life. Any other questions? I think we have covered almost for quite some time, right? We wanted to keep these episodes short. So let's wrap this out. And if you have any more questions, just feel free to ask. Otherwise, we'll wrap up for this week episode and we'll continue with our talk. And also,
Yeah.
we will have some interesting clips played out from our experiment and also share those videos, or you can share those emails in the coming
Yes.
weeks.
Yeah. Yeah. Just last question that stop now, and also you and your team is still fighting to stop H1B. So do you think it's possible to stop H1B, or your government can stop it?
Well, we cannot anticipate anything in that, right? So you know that what is happening with the laws being in place or being violated, anything human right violation or even abortion laws are being turned down by the Supreme Court. So those kind of things happens, right? So same way H1B visas will also be abused. People will defend that like, oh, this is giving us more economic benefit, more profit for US employers who are providing job opportunities. When they speak in those terms, people overlook those things and say like, okay, fine, only a few abuses are happening. And we don't know for sure, right, why Department of Labor or any other department agencies which has to prosecute are not acting on time is being proven. We even showed in our show, right, how the discrimination happens between the H1B visa candidates and green card or US citizens. So when that is the clear indication, you can see like on multiple levels, the visa holders can be abused. And that's why we tie this to human trafficking. It's not just labor trafficking. They just people sensitize, right? If you talk about sex trafficking, then it becomes a hot topic and oh, blah, 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 that is serious. And people view that as a
Yeah, right. Yeah.
major issue. But labor trafficking, oh, it's just like a job. You just go back to your country. Who asked you to work like this? So those victims are not being treated. Uh, they are traumatized and they are psychologically affected, and that forced them to do things. It's a violence. I call that as a violence, and they are not being prosecuted, and there is no data, and the government is hiding and they just don't want to admit that. That is why like I cannot answer that like to your question of whether it can be stopped. But for us, stop now, this is enough, right? So we will say this, and the more voices come together and the more people who support will force the US government to think over, and the policymakers. It's a long road ahead, I would say. And some of them with whom I talked, they said they admitted this. Yes, it's not an easy thing
Mhm.
politically, and also big corporates, right? You know that we have evidence. Even Apple, Google, right? We just had like conversation for this fake profile with uh,
Yeah, right.
for an interview in Apple, and we have given that like for Apple and Google for candidates by different people and got selected as well. So we will play that out, right? So it's a proof that these big corporations are lobbying to keep these visas intact so that they can exploit people. So
Yeah,
that's why like there is no clear indication for us to say like, okay, this will be successful, it can be stopped, because it's not in our hands. It is a collective
yeah,
decision. Maybe once we expose everything, and it becomes a talking point, and everybody agrees to it, like, okay, let's put a stop to it, then it will happen. And if it happens, you and me, I can assure you, we will be on the history books. I'm just,
Yeah, yeah, I understood. Yeah.
I hope
Okay.
that happen, and let's hope like the dream come true. So with that,
Sure, sure.
again, it was nice talking with you and chatting with you on one.
So I think see you again next episode. Yeah.
All right, bye for now.